Okay guys, what's up? Back here with Ray, and we are talking how to not care about other people's opinions, correct?
Correct.
There is a saying, the sooner you stop caring about other people's opinions, the sooner you'll start succeeding. First person that comes to mind is Dan Panner. Have you ever checked out his stuff?
No.
Old school guy in his 70s, hardcore businessman. He just does not
I do
give
know what
a
you're talking about now, yeah.
crap about anybody. And
Yeah.
I love that attitude.
Yep.
And he's probably been the biggest influence on me on just doing my thing and not worrying about other people's opinions. So how do you break away from that? It's hard, right?
It's really hard because it just seeps in kind of insidiously in a lot of different ways, from family to people online.
Well, it starts at an early age too, because you're always trying to impress your peers, your parents, your siblings. So you care about other people's opinions.
Totally. I think it's getting harder now just because people are growing up with so much, emphasis on what people think online. And, like when I was growing up, that really wasn't super important. You just had the immediate people around you in your neighborhood, and like that's all you worried about, You had a crush on one girl, like it was one girl, like that was your whole world. There was no other girls around. Like you never saw,
that's a good point.
10,000 girls like you do online in 1 week or whatever. Like that's
a whole different subject, isn't it?
That's a whole different subject. But the point is, I think people in their heads create more worries about what people think because they feel like there's more people actually watching them. In reality, no one cares. Like no one's.
I cannot stress that enough. Like going to the gym, I'm worried about what people are going to think. They're more worried what you're going to think of them than what they're thinking of you. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching. Yeah. I feel like most people are insecure. Most people are so worried about other people's opinions that they're not really watching and judging. And the ones who are watching and judging, they're the worst, nastiest people anyway.
Yes.
They're the people you want to stay at arm's reach.
And you wouldn't even care about their opinion because it wouldn't be worth that much.
There's no value to it. There's no credibility to it, right?
It's just negative, just trying to knock you down because they feel like crap themselves. So how to get around? You just have to have that realization with yourself that no one really cares that much. And if they do care, it's going to be in maybe for 5 minutes, and then it's going to be over. And like, you just have to learn how to move on and let that go.
And realizing why you think the way you do and why you potentially might care about someone's opinion.
Yeah.
And a big one that comes to mind is we're worried about other people's opinions with business and trying things and starting something new or a dance class because we're scared of failing or we're scared of giving up and we're scared what someone's going to think if we fail or give up. And when you read, you self-educate, and you realize that failing isn't failing unless you give up. Mm-hmm. And everybody's got to start from somewhere. Like, there's a guitar over here, right? You've been playing guitar for how long?
Yeah, I've been playing since I was like 16 or something.
Yeah, most of your life, right?
Yeah.
I've been playing for 6 months.
Yeah.
But I could still be procrastinating, think about learning because you're so much further ahead of me, or I can pick it up, realize I'm going to suck, not worry about anyone's opinions. Do I enjoy the process of this? Yes, I do. Therefore, do it for myself.
Well, I mean, even when I was 16 starting to play guitar, there was people that are already like expert guitarists at 16. So like you could look at it that way too.
It's always someone better.
There's always someone better, and there's always someone like way better,
Way better.
And
discouraging better.
Yeah, 100%. It's always like that. And in music it's easier to find those people too because they're the ones that kind of show up at the top, There's a whole lot to worry about, but you have to realize that you have your own unique things to offer. And that's the part that's difficult to get around. Like everyone has their own uniqueness
and their own path, right?
Their own path and their own special ways to offer. So, you might not be like a Joe Satriani crazy guitarist doing solos and can do anything with his guitar while he's sleeping, but maybe you're like a Billy Joel from Green Day. Who's more famous?
Just power chording your way around.
Yeah, just power chording your way around and has more hit songs than Joe Satriani has ever had. Right?
That's a really interesting point.
So you can look at it so many different ways. Just let go, and just you have your own unique stuff to offer. And I always use that example because Green Day's, they're still writing hit songs and they're still writing music. And he's still using the same power chord that he learned when he was probably like 16 years old. Like he has not progressed as a guitarist at all.
But he's not.
But he doesn't care.
Stop him. Yeah, he doesn't care. It goes back to the whole conversation.
He's just going to write what he wants to write and sing what he wants to sing.
I love that.
Yeah.
And a big thing for me, I got such amazing parents. I got such high respect for my parents. I really value their opinion. And I feel like, especially my mom, I feel like she's very overprotective, and she kind of doesn't hold me back, but she worries about the entrepreneurial path, the failing part, the non-security, the solid paycheck. And it's not her trying to hold me back or stop me from what my true calling is. It's just a parent instinct and a protection thing, right? Yeah. Hey, I want my child to be okay. I want them to be financially okay. And if you're not that entrepreneurial type mindset, you don't quite get it. And it's not, you've got to kind of learn to do what you want to do for you and realize that if you fail, it's okay. It's getting back up, which is way more important. Most successful businesses have failed, 3 to 5 times, isn't it? Like a YouTube channel, they never pop the first time. It usually takes a couple of attempts. So just getting out of your own head and realizing that I'm going to suck. It is okay to fail. And because of that, then you can stop caring about other people's opinions. And I don't want to keep rambling, but another thing comes to mind is we're 42. And if you're, I don't know, say you're dating a girl, or you got a wife, or you got a friend who tells you not to do something right now. In 2 years' time, that friend may not be around anymore. And for the rest of your life, that friend is gone. They're no longer a friend anymore. And you didn't do that business because of someone's opinion 2 years ago, never learned 10 years ago, never learned 20 years ago. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to do it for yourself because it's your life. You got to live it the way that you want to.
Yeah, and the failures that happen aren't really as important as the person you're going to become through that process. So, getting a big, I'll give you a good example. My wife worked at a company, and they got bought by another company, and, everything was like, okay, what's going to happen? Nothing really changed. And all of a sudden you just get a call, like, everyone's got to get on a call right now. We are, making basically a big cut, and everyone's, just like that. Half the department disappeared.
Really?
And everyone got let go just like that. So when people say that, big corporate jobs are safe, actually, I think they're probably the least safe. You have the least control of what's going to happen to you. It's totally up to them, like whatever happens.
And it's getting worse and worse. Yeah. It's a lot worse than it used to be, right?
Yeah. However, in your case, it's up to you on how much business you take in and what you do. So you learning and you becoming the person you're becoming as an entrepreneur, you can find, you'll always find a way to make money. That's not the problem, right? And
you're probably you personally are probably a lot more resilient than your wife is because you've worked for yourself since ever you can remember. So you've been through the ups and downs.
Yes. And what's funny
where she's had the nice, safe, secure job.
Yeah. And there's
nothing wrong. And I'm not saying it's nothing wrong with either one.
With that.
But you're a lot more relentless because you've been through that shit.
Yeah.
You've been through the crap.
And, and she, I think, really respects and envies me in that way. And I think she wishes she could be a little bit more like that.
But you got to go through the struggle.
You got to go through the struggle.
To get the growth, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you get.
To get that confidence, to get that, you just know that you got this. And
there's not much that bothers me anymore.
It's really
because I always know I'm going to figure it out.
Because your mind can fix stuff and put stuff together.
Or even just how mentally you approach it, or something's going on. Like, we've got a business problem right now. I haven't even mentioned it to you because it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not stressing about it. I'm not talking to anyone about it.
Yeah.
I just realize that it's going to be what it's going to be, and then we're going to adapt with whatever happens.
Yeah.
You
find the solutions. And the thing is when you're an entrepreneur and you do it long enough and you fail long enough, you definitely get better at finding the opportunities that are going to work.
Yeah.
Right? You just get better at it. And then you start to get better at knowing where you fit into these opportunities. Because I think that's the kicker too. Just because something's a good opportunity doesn't mean that you're the right fit for that opportunity. You have to kind of know yourself a little bit to go, I probably won't be able to do that. I won't be able to commit to that, or it's not going to make me happy in the long run if I do this for the next couple of years. You got to understand some of those things about yourself a little bit.
I get that.
And you got to make sure it's going to make you happy.
So I get that.
Yeah.
And the alternative is, if you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen.
That's 100% true.
And I cannot stress that enough. Like, we're social with me. I'm putting myself out there. I'm doing this podcast. I'm blasting the internet. I'm trying to build a brand. I'm trying to do something, and it's for me. And one big thing, I don't watch anybody else. I have no idea last time you post or what you post.
Yeah.
And it's not a personal thing. I'm just too busy doing my thing to worry about even my closest friends.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like most people are holding back and watching everybody else and not doing anything themselves. And that Will Smith saying is, you try to impress everybody, you impress nobody.
Yep.
And I always think about that. Like, I'm trying to impress myself. I'm trying to be true to myself. So when I'm 80, I have zero regrets. And by doing that, that's how you can allow to not care about what other people think. And someone's talking behind my back, go nuts. I don't care. If someone posts something publicly, if I've had haters and if someone says something negative, I'll either say something really positive back because that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Or I'll delete it. As soon as I delete it, it goes away.
Yeah.
It goes away. But if I take that comment and tell the next 100 people, what happens? It's not making my life any better.
No, it's just you're just recycling it. And
Yeah,
you're creating like
I will literally, hey,
reverb.
That's pretty mean. Delete, gone, move on.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing too is, and I say this about us in general and people who are trying to better themselves, it gets really easy to start just focusing on the negative stuff that you need to fix in yourself. You got to remind yourself of like the things you have done right. You know what I mean? Like, you don't forget the wins you've had. And remind yourself that like you're the same person that won those things at some point and you had that success at one point. And don't sell yourself short. You're so much more than you realize you are. And we hold ourselves back a little bit because you're like, maybe if I learn a little bit more about this, or maybe you learn a little bit more about that. You already know probably most of the answers. And if you don't know, there's no book or nothing that's going to teach you. You kind of have to it's the action. That's where you're going to learn everything. Because in that moment, you're going to realize the things you really need to learn. Then you learn those things. You don't need to you can only prepare so much. So trust in yourself.
I like that.
Believe in yourself.
It's this podcast being a good example. I started this podcast. Am I good on camera? Am I good at conversation? I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's just something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But now I've done maybe 30, 40 conversations. I feel myself. I'm so much more confident. I'm so much better at talking. I'm so much better at shutting up and listening more and asking more intelligent questions and more in-depth questions. And I can't imagine what's going to be like in another 3 months or another 6 months or another 3 years.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have progressed. I wouldn't have grown. My confidence wouldn't have built if I didn't take any action. 100%, right?
That's 100% true. So letting go of what people think of you is, if you really just, you got to figure out a way to let go of that and maybe ask yourself the whys, like, why am I so worried about what people think? And start going that level deeper,
Going deep on yourself, right? Which is hard to do.
It's hard to do, but if you keep asking that question, the answers will start to appear. They will. Little things will start to show up like, oh, there's one little thing. Oh, there's that. And all of a sudden you start to see the things that were making you worry about what people think. And then you realize that really it's not that big of a deal and it gets a little bit easier to let go. Then you do the things that you're worried about and then it gets a little easier. And if it's resurfaces, ask yourself those whys again. Why do I even care? Why do I feel so upset that guy commented on my video and it made me feel upset? Like, why do I really feel that upset?
Yeah.
If you talk yourself through it, you'll find really quickly, I bet, that you'll be like, there's really no reason. It's so silly.
What do you feel about weighing it up? So what I'm getting at is like, why am I worried about doing this? And why is this so important to do this? So say we're talking about social media and building a brand and putting something out there. So like, hey, I'm worried about posting this photo or this video because of why. But by posting this video and doing this allows me to get here. So you know what I mean? You're weighing it up.
Yeah.
The potential versus the not taking any action.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe it's you're just overthinking it, right?
Like if I'm a realtor and I'm going to start putting out real estate content, I could be like, well, if I don't do it, I'm not going to build my brand. I'm not going to be well known. I'm not going to sell as many houses.
Yeah.
But if I do play it safe, I'm going to play it safe. No one's going to hate me. No one's going to talk bad about me, but I'm not going to sell more houses.
Yeah.
So what is more important? If you're a realtor, it's obviously selling as many houses as you can and building a biggest brand as you possibly can. So therefore, taking that step outweighs the negative. So maybe that's a way in your mind you can you can justify it.
Yeah, maybe that's a way for some people. I think everyone's going to have their own kind of journey on that side,
Yeah, I'm just trying to give ideas on how to.
Sure. And I mean, as far as like a realtor goes, like what if, what clients do you want to work with? Because I guarantee you, if you're just being yourself, and maybe you won't get some clients, but you will get the right clients, right? The ones that look at you and go, this is the person I want to work with. That's probably going to be people you're going to really enjoy working with. Now, not only are you getting more business, you're getting more dedicated customers,
and the people that relate to you.
Well, and the vibe, like the whole point of creating relationships just got even cooler and more exciting and more fun. And don't you want to have more fun when you're doing your job, right? So it's like,
I like that,
because when you dumb down yourself, or you play it safe, as you put it, then you're gonna kind of getting those people that are gonna play it safe. Your whole life's gonna feel like you're playing it safe.
Yeah.
Like, and it's really, personally, I believe the whole point of, one big aspect of life is to create more experiences for yourself, and then take those experiences and raise the vibration of those experiences. Like, you want them to be awesome and cool, and more fun and more memorable. Like, all that's the stuff. You want the moments with your kids to be more memorable, more fun. You want, when you hang out with your friends, it to be like more memorable, more fun. You want all that stuff. So if you're playing it safe, you're probably, your career is probably going to be not very memorable, and it's probably going to be not more fun, and all those things.
And very capped and limited too, right?
Yeah.
And two things come to mind. If you haven't got haters, you're not really doing anything.
Yeah, you could say.
And there's another way is, if you're not failing or making mistakes, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And those two things come to mind listening to what you're saying. It's like,
that's the one I focus on.
Just be constantly failing, putting yourself out there, not caring about other people's opinions, and try to fail, trying to get people's attention. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter, because if you're getting someone's attention, you're doing something. Yeah. Opposed to, like you said, playing it safe, and I couldn't think anything worse.
Yeah, and even just being here and having these conversations, right? We're trying to help. We're trying to move the needle forward. We're trying to raise the vibration. We're trying to raise people to, have better experiences just by letting go of some of the stuff that you're worrying about. Like and
I found with this, I don't really overthink it anymore. I just go the flow.
Yeah, me too.
Make sure I don't say anything stupid.
Just jump in. Like, I don't even think about it. Like,
I don't overthink about it. And then we've been going live doing this, and like, live is live. I'm a video editor. I'm not editing. There's no editing when you're live. So it just, I don't know, anything that makes you grow, pushes out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah. Now, I'd like to kind of touch on the opposite extreme too. Like, you don't want to care what people think, right? You want to let that go. That pertains to, like, your posts, your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas.
Procrastination.
Yeah, like that's what we're kind of talking about. But it's not like so black and white where it's like, well, you just don't care what people think, and then you go show up to work in whatever you want.
Yeah, you're on these half an hour late.
Yeah, you go to a meeting and you're trying to get, like, some funding for this business you want to do.
No, it's like,
you don't show up in sweats.
Yeah, if you want to take a weight loss journey, do it. You want to start a business, do it.
Yeah, like, don't show up to the gym in Converse if you think you're going to, like, you really want to run and grind it out. Like, I see people in Converse, I'm like, well, clearly they're just here to they're going to do a couple lifts with their arms and they're going to go home. They're not doing anything like any plyometrics or, you know what I mean? Like, you just see, like, that just shows, like, how serious they are. And I'm not judging them, I'm just saying, like, oh, they're not going to be running today. Like, right?
Yeah.
So when you show up to a business meeting and you're just kind of there and your sweats and your Yeezys, it's like, okay, like, is this guy serious? Like, is he taking it serious, or is he gonna just, like, is he gonna sleep in and, like, what is he gonna really put the work in to make this business work? Is he gonna show up? Is he gonna,
like, that perception?
Is he organized? Is he prepared? Is he, like, those things? As an investor, right? You're gonna put money into this person. You want to know that they're gonna do a good job. So if you're a new investor, or if you're a new company and you're trying to start out, well, you got to show up like you're ready to show, to perform. If you're gonna come to tryouts, you want to show up ready to play. Yeah. So, like, you kind of need to, I don't want to say dress the part, but you definitely want to represent yourself well and accordingly to the situation, right?
I like that.
Without worrying about what people think, that's one thing, but showing up to play, that's another thing.
Yeah, they're two completely different things, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, show up to play. You know, I always mess with my teenager because, you know, he'll wear his Air Force Ones to the gym, but then he can't run or he can't do that. I'm like, you're wearing Air Force Ones. He's like, whoa. I was like,
good.
Bro, they're not workout shoes. You don't see the top athletes running in Air Force Ones.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah, so it's like not letting someone's opinion hold you back from taking action. It's probably a good way of putting it, right?
Yeah.
And then you're touching on being the person you need to be in the right environment.
Sure.
Like, I am such a goofball. I'm so unprofessional 99% of the time. But when I have to be, you would have no idea that I'm like that outside behind the curtains. When I need to dress up, I dress up.
Yeah, when it's game time,
When
you got to show up
talk,
with your game gear on. Like, you got to be ready to go.
And it's also that reading, that doing, that learning, that failing, which preps you to become that person, to take action, to step up.
Total. And that goes back to probably a couple podcasts ago where we talked about like who you want to be, right? In order to become, like, who's the person you need to become in order to get the things you want to get.
Yeah, and that goes to dressing a certain way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that goes to letting go of what people think in some regard, you know, because maybe you've never worn suits. Maybe you've never, you know, dressed in nice, you know, stuff, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like, maybe you've never went that direction.
And that could be environmental too.
It can be environmental. It also changes the way you feel.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I wear a suit and I go up somewhere, people treat you different. Than when you're not wearing a suit. If I show up in my workout clothes, you know, or to a restaurant, they definitely treat me a lot different than when I show up in a suit.
That's so true.
So
even when I'm lean, I get treated so much better than I do. Like right now, I'm maybe 12% body fat. When I'm 6 or 7, I get treated so much better.
That's funny.
It's crazy. I can't. It's a weird thing. Or I can wear a t-shirt like this, and it kind of covers everything. And then you wear a tank top, and you're shredded.
Yeah,
you get treated so much better.
Yeah.
So it's like physical, it's the way you look, clean shaven.
Yeah.
All those things can add to what you're saying, doesn't it?
Totally. So let go of, because I really feel like a lot of people hold on to their current identity.
Yeah.
And that's where
the blueprint that they know. The only thing they know, right?
Yes, because they're known as the funny guy who plays video games, or they're known as whatever. Like whatever your identity currently is, that's just sitting in there and you don't really even know that that's part of your identity. It's in there. Whatever that part of your identity is, I guarantee you that's probably the biggest things that need to change in order to get to the next level.
It's so funny you say that. Sorry, do you have something else to say?
No,
it's so funny you say that because I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, and it's not what I am. You only talk to me for 2 seconds to know I'm completely different to that. And I don't like being labeled that. And nothing against being a photographer, videographer, but I want bigger, better, more. And this podcast is my way of showing that, hey, he does have a brain, he does read, he does have goals, he is trying to help other people. So that's my way of growing outside of that quote unquote bubble, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're realizing you needed to be something else.
I want more, and to be more, I've got to become that person, but I've also got to show other people that I am that person.
Sure.
And I guess this is a great way for me to do it. Yeah. And probably the same as you've been on here too, right?
Yeah, same. I mean, that's why I'm here too, you know?
Yeah.
I know that I've helped a couple people in the past, and that's like some of the greatest feelings you could have is just like knowing you were there and they took the other road, you know, just because of something you had talked about with them. And then all of a sudden, like, their life is just in a way better place than they would have thought. And that's so cool. Like, that's the stuff that I feel like we're here to do. And that's part of raising the vibration of our life and creating better experiences and, making more wow in the world instead of so much, negativity.
So to like summarize that, what do you think some good steps to do to get the grove to break away from that opinion and holding you back and not taking action?
Number one, an actual tactical thing that you could do, I would recommend, is start meditating for 10 minutes a day.
Why meditating?
Because that way you can start hearing the voices little by little. It'll probably take you 30 days.
Oh, so you're really listening on
you can listen to what little things creep into your head.
That's interesting.
And you'll start noticing what
So why is this coming up? Why am I thinking about this? Why am I letting this hold me back?
Whatever fear you have, let's say you have some video you want to make and you're scared to post it or whatever because you think it might be offensive, and then in that moment you'll hear those voices come in, and then you'll start questioning the voices, and you'll start questioning.
You meditating on that specific topic, or are you just meditating in general, and if that comes up?
Yeah, if it comes up, then
okay. But you're not like sitting there meditating on, hey, I want to start making videos. No, I was just wondering if you can
I just try to meditate, and for me, I just try to meditate just being in the moment, just completely just listening to my breath, just existing in the world and being aware that I'm existing in the world.
Okay.
That's what I do, but there will be things that kind of sometimes come in because you have stuff going on, right? That happened 2 days ago, or maybe a fight with your wife or whatever it is. Those things come in, and then you have a moment there with kind of just quiet clarity without being busy to just kind of think about it. And why not? That's a good time to, to think about it. And,
no, I like that.
Yeah.
A big thing comes to my mind is start reading.
Yeah.
Start self-educating, start reading. Because what that does, it gives you permission, because you're like, hey, this person did it, I can do it. Hey, this person that started this business wasn't really that smart. Or he never went to university, or he dropped out of school in year 10, or it starts to show you that you don't have to be this amazing, put together, like perfect person to do something right.
Yeah.
It just takes hard work and consistency more than anything. And would you agree with that? With most books have a pretty common blueprint, a pretty common story.
You read enough and all you realize
persistence,
they all kind of the same.
Consistency, like not worrying about someone else's opinion. Like what's that feeling like that inside you feel like it's right, like it's listen to your own
like your heart, if you want to put it that way, your own,
or following a passion,
trusting your own guidance,
I mean, I feel like the amount of books you and I've read have allowed us to realize that, hey, we're nobody special, but we don't need to be anybody special.
You don't have to be. And that's a different thing too. That's another topic is, that we create kind of like a system, like our value system kind of gives us an idea of where we fit into the world. And I think that that's where a lot of people get kind of messed up, is that their value system screwed up.
So, what do you mean by that?
Well, like they value certain things that aren't really as important as you might think. And so like the values they created for themselves that are there, they don't even know they're there. They just kind of were adopted from your parents, from people you grew up around. Maybe you grew up in the ghetto. Maybe you grew up in an area where in a farmland, like your values kind of come a lot of the time. Just
your environment.
Right? They're just there from your environment. And the key is to kind of figure out like, well, what's my value system? Like, where do I want my values to be? And then, that will give you a better gauge of where you want to, to take you to the next place of where you want to go.
You know what I'm thinking about? I talked to a lot of people who are going to university.
Well, I have a good example for the value thing too, if you want to go back to that.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, like you've ever heard of the band Metallica? So
biggest band in the world. Yeah.
Just checking. Have you heard of Megadeth?
Yeah.
Okay, so the lead singer from Megadeth was in Metallica originally.
I didn't know
Did you know that?
No.
So before they signed their big deal and got their big record contract and went on tour and all that stuff, they kicked Dave Mustaine out of the band, and then they got Kirk Hammett, and then they went on tour. He was a part of the original Metallica band.
Okay.
So they kicked him out, and he, then they signed a big record deal. They got famous, and then he vowed to be like super, famous and do his thing and kind of like, and give it to Metallica, right? So he went and started his own band, became Megadeth. Now you would think that, oh wow, he got kicked out of the band and he still became like Megadeth, like the king of death metal or whatever. And he doesn't look at his career as being successful. Gotcha. Because his metric for being successful was, his value was to be more successful than Metallica. Well, unfortunately, Metallica became like the biggest metal band ever, right? And so to sell that many records, it just didn't happen for him. However, he sold millions of records and made millions of dollars, but he's
doing what he loves.
But he feels unhappy and doesn't feel successful, and he still has that unsatisfied thing inside himself because his value system was screwed up. If he just valued just being able to live off of music successfully and have whatever I want, he would be successful. But his value was being bigger than Metallica, and that didn't happen. That's what I mean by values. Like, is your value system just putting you in a position to already fail? right? Are you looking at like, oh, if I can't make, $1 million a year, like, is that your value? That's my point. Is like, you need to really clarify those values for yourself. Like, is that what's going to make you happy? Just have $1 million a year, or maybe waking up and having the day you want every day going to make you happy, or the freedom to travel to these places you want to see, or the time to write music, or the time to write books, or like, what is your real metric for happiness, right? Like figuring some of that stuff out, because happiness is fleeting anyways.
Yeah.
You're not going to be happy every single moment, but you can create your life in a way that there's a lot of peace and there's a lot of joy, and there's more opportunity to grow some happiness here and there.
I like what you're saying. And what I was going to say before was, I come across these like 20, 22, 24-year-old kids, and they're going to college, they're going to university, and the value that they put on going to university, and they've got their life figured out. And by going to university, they're going to come out, they're going to be successful, they're going to be making a lot of money. And it kind of blows my mind, because now that I'm older and I realize how insignificant that actually is.
Yeah.
And how, hey, if this person is going to become a doctor or what, it doesn't matter. You're getting better at a skill to fit into a job where you're going to be working 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, or 52% of people go to university are going to drop out. The ones that finish, I think there's a high percentage don't even take advantage of the degree. They end up doing something completely different, or they're racking up hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans and paying it off for the next. Met a lady recently, she was in her mid-30s and she still was paying off student loans.
Yeah.
So it's like, and here I'm working for myself, making way more money, doing something I love, but that value and that society of like going to college and you got it together and this is the coolest thing and this puts me above this, and this. It's really not true, is it?
Yeah,
it boggles my mind.
And the one that boggles my mind is that like people will go to college and they won't even talk to somebody who has the job that they want to get.
That's interesting.
Like
that's super interesting.
Yeah, like, oh, you want to be an engineer? Okay, like what kind of engineer do you want to be? Like, okay, that's cool. Like, oh, I had an uncle that was an engineer. Well, like, what have you talk to them? Or
you imagine if you're an engineer and I sat down and had 10 conversations with 10 engineers, what that would do before I started.
That's what I mean.
That would be amazing.
Just have some conversation, ask some questions.
I really want to be an engineer, or hell no, I do not want to do this job anymore.
Like they won't ask like the real questions, like, why do you want to be an engineer? Is it because you actually love like building things and engineering
or is it the money?
Right? So because most of the time a lot of people go into that, they're just chasing the high money, right? They're chasing that.
Well, that's to say 80% of lawyers hate what they do. They do it for the money.
Yeah.
And most of them don't last because they hate what they do.
Yeah. And you're going to hate it if you're doing it for the money.
Yeah.
For sure. And especially if you're going to school. And that's why people will get degrees and not even do it in their chosen profession, because they were interested in some of the stuff they liked about whatever degree they got, but maybe not interested in the actual job. So,
and they're also 18-year-old kids with zero idea what they're interested in.
Yes.
At that age anyway. I still don't know what I'm interested in. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, just talk to them.
I feel like even if you're going to start a coffee shop, go talk to 5 people who own coffee shops.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of those people would be happy to sit down with you and give you some guidance and tell you the truth. Because
I'll tell you, I actually wanted to be an archaeologist for a minute.
Did you really?
Yeah, in school, and I was really curious about it. I thought it was really interesting. Just of course you've watched some shows on like Discovery or like the Digs and like
digging up dinosaurs,
King Tut stuff, and you're just like, this is really cool. Like this history is really interesting, right? And then so I went and spoke with like an archaeologist, and he sat down with me. We chatted, and I just asked him like, what is it like? What would it be like if I got my degree and this and that? Well, you'd probably be like you'd be one of 30, 50, 100, guys on a dig, and you would be basically probably, since you'd be first starting out, you didn't find the dig and it wasn't your like deal that you put together, you'd be like gathering data. You'd just be sitting there with a note, like watching people brush stuff off and go, oh, we got one bone and room 7, one bone. Like, that's not what I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
Like, I wanted to be more at the forefront of the whole process, right?
Gotcha.
And so once you kind of understand like where your role might actually end up. That doesn't mean I can't go and do archaeological stuff.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I can go learn it on my own.
Would you be better off starting a business and going that way and having those type of people work for you?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of ways to do it.
So finding what you love, thinking you know what you love, but finding the right way of doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because if you really, really love something, you really love it, then you go and you study it and you learn it to the point where you know so much more about it than everyone else, and you can connect more dots than everybody else. Like people are going to be drawn to you to ask you questions, information. What are your thoughts on this? You know, and that's, you know, how you become kind of a
That's interesting. Yeah, even as a vet, like you may not want to be, you love animals. Doesn't mean you need to be a vet.
Yes.
You might make the cutest little doggy jumpers in the world, right?
Yeah.
And you could make a lot more money than the vet does selling little doggy jumpers on Amazon.
Yep.
So, I mean, just, it's funny, like, hey, this is what I'm interested in, this niche, but there's a million different ways I'll find that with photography, videography and stuff. There's a million different ways of doing it. I could shoot a baby to a wedding, to landscape, to drone stuff, there's a million different ways of doing it. It's up to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So letting go of people think and, you know, what your parents think you should do and all that stuff, and kind of figuring out like what's really my values on where I'm going to be happy, right? And then that helps you, kind of gives you, it clears up your map a little bit more, right? Then you can take the next step and start thinking, okay, now how am I going to take what I want to do every day and then make money at it, right? And then just figure out what's going to make you happy. Like you being happy is going to make your family happy. It's going to make your wife happy, your kids happy. Everyone's going to be happier if you're happy. And, you know, you're going to move the needle just because you're going to be an example and you're going to be doing the best you can at whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Or you can just try to, you know, make the money and be unhappy and then get to the end of your days and wish you would have just...
Yeah, I like that, because I think what you said is true. Like, everybody wants you to be happy, but the people who kind of feel like they're holding you back, they want you to be safe.
Yeah.
And they want you to be secure. And they want you to
because
have
they
a roof
love
over
you.
your
They
head
want you to be safe
because
and
they
secure.
care about you.
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily holding you back. I feel like some friends will hold you back on purpose, but I feel like family, and for the most part, they're just worried about you because they care about you.
Yeah, and I do think there's a lot of people that will hold you back subconsciously. They'll kind of hold you back because it doesn't feel possible to them. So they're like, oh, what's not possible for you? Like, I don't think you want to do that. That's not possible.
Or it makes someone else uncomfortable. Or
well, because if you do it, right, and you make it happen and it becomes possible for you, it makes them question, well, what's possible for me then? Right? Then they have to like look at themselves and go, well, Johnny did it and he did it in like a year and a half. Like, what if I did it, but it took me 5 years or whatever? Like, it makes them start questioning themselves. So that's where, and then they have to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then they have to, you know.
Yeah.
Then they have to go and figure out, you know, how to let go of what people think. Then they have to go and do all the hard work.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's it.
Yeah.
What do you think? All right, guys. So from personal opinion, the sooner you stop caring about other people's opinions, the sooner you'll start doing what you enjoy and putting your life together the way you want it to be.
Yep. Get out of your own way. That is for sure.
Cool, guys. Thanks for watching.